Good morning, I'm Neeraj. I'm supposed to take class of CS 405 and today's my topic is Introduction of Basic Management. I will try my best to cover this topic today itself. I will try to cover all the important aspects of introduction management. Management. Undoubtedly, this is one of the most usable, powerful words across the globe. But question arises, what is management? What does it mean? What are its various dimensions? If we want to understand the management and want to go through the definitions, there are n number of definitions available and applicable throughout the world. There is n number of scholars, theorists, academicians, those propounded definition of management. In fact, this is complete jungle of theories, definitions. Among these definitions, one definition which has been globally adopted, widely applicable, has been mentioned in the book of Kunj and Weirich. And they define management in the beautiful yet incomprehensive manner. Management is a process. Let me write down the definition on the board. Fine, this is definition. Management is the process of designing and maintaining the environment where individuals work in groups to achieve efficiently selected aims. This definition is very comprehensive by a scope in itself. This is complete definition in fact. Now, there is various key aspects underlie these definitions. What are those key aspects or the key areas? So let me have a little glimpse on those key areas to understand management in its full length. Now, management is the process. Now, management is the managerial process. As we all know, process is comprised by certain activities. Those are arranged in chronological or sequential manner in order to facilitate a particular function or group of functions to achieve certain goals. So here, if we talk about the process, then definitely certain managerial functions come at our concept. These managerial functions have to be performed by every manager, hardly matter what kind of organization and where the organization is functioning. These activities, managerial functions or activities can be organized under 5 broad areas of activities. First, planning. Second, organizing. Third, staffing. Fourth, directing. And fifth, controlling. Planning, if we talk about the process, planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling, PDSDC. All the knowledge related to management is organized under these 5 functions of management. So management is the process of designing and managing through planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling what a manager or all the managers do. They create and execute as well as manage the environment, a kind of environment, kind of working environment where individuals work in groups. As we understand the meaning of organization, organization is the group of people those act towards particular direction in order to achieve group goal or organization goals. So whenever and wherever a group of people come to work together to achieve certain goal is the organization. So we can say individuals work together in groups to achieve efficiently selected aims, objective. As we all know, objective is very important as it gives direction to all the effort. Objectives are ends towards which all managerial and non-managerial organizational activities are oriented, are directed. So selected aims, and these aims are well planned, well thought out, well designed, and organization or the managers want to achieve these objectives efficiently. Efficiently means to achieve the objective with the help of minimum possible resources. Here, resource minimization is very important to keep the cost judicious, rational. Now, if we understand this definition, then 5 different key concepts come in our mind in order to understand. First key concept, that management is the process. Management is the process of certain managerial activities which we discussed already: planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. Second, management applies to any kind of organization. Hardly matter whether it is a temple or it is commercial organization or it is non-commercial, non-government organization, NGO like any institution, or it might be the academic institution or anything, any enterprise, commercial or non-commercial enterprise. Everywhere management is equally applicable. Now, third key concept which can be derived from this definition is that management is the function which has to be performed by every manager across the organizational hierarchy. Hardly matter whether this is the top management, this is the middle management, or this is the first line supervisor or the lower management. Every manager across the organizational hierarchy has to perform planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling activities in order to achieve pre-selected aims or the goals. So managers has to perform these activities, and across the organizational hierarchy every manager is supposed to perform these activities. Now, fourth key concept is aim of management. Now, hardly matter whether what kind of organization and where the organization is functioning, every manager is supposed to create the surplus. The ultimate objective of manager is to create the surplus. What is surplus? Surplus can be well defined in terms of output and input ratio. When we divide surplus is equal to output divided by input. Input might be considered in terms of all required resources for converting these resources into output. These resources might be main material, machine or information or anything which can be used to manufacture the output. And output might be tangible goods or intangible services, or even satisfying the particular requirement of the particular group of customers. Anything might be output. So it is ratio of output by input. And here I would like to mention one important aspect, that most of the people, whenever they consider surplus and they divide output by input, they forget the quality considerations and the time considerations. Here time would be constant, quality would be constant. So we should not compromise with the quality. We should not compromise with the time. We should constant it. And afterward, we have to divide output by input, and this surplus can be increased by either increasing the output by having constant input, or decreasing the input by having constant output, or simultaneously increasing output and decreasing input. In nutshell, this can also be termed as productivity. So productivity or the surplus is almost overlapping words. The ultimate objective of productivity and surplus is to get more and more output by applying less and less input. In a very common parlance, it is usually said that management is all about getting maximum output by applying minimum input. Fine. When we talk about output and input and productivity or surplus, two important concepts come in our mind, come in our knowledge, and that is fifth key aspects derived by this definition itself. And this is effectiveness and efficiency. Is there any difference between these two words? Yes, definitely there is difference. Effectiveness means to achieve predetermined objective, whatever objective might be. If one achieves objectives, then he or she is effective. Efficiency means to achieve the objectives in minimum possible resources. Now, if one achieves objectives by applying redundantly more than required resources, then he or she is not good manager. A manager must keep his or her utmost consideration on keeping resource utilization optimally. Optimum means whatever quantity and whenever this is required, wherever the amount or the resource is required, that should be well justified. This was I think about the basic understanding of the management. Now we will give a little deeper look about functions of management. As we discussed at the very outset of this lecture, that 5 important functions are there: planning, organizing, staffing, and directing and controlling. These are very important to understand. Now, if we talk about the planning, what is planning? Planning is deciding about future course of action. This is decision of the manager about future happening, future activities which the organization or the team of managers are intended to plan, intended to do in the future. And if we talk about future course of action, then definitely decision making comes. So we can say decision making is an integral part of planning. In every plan or planning, decision comes. A manager has to decide every time whenever he or she has to select the particular decision. Decision means to select a particular activity, a particular course of action among all the available and possible course of actions to the manager or the organizations. Here one has to select among alternatives what should be the most optimum course of action for him or his organization. That is decision. After planning, the second activity of the management is organizing. Here, management or manager defines the roles. Those have to be filled in organizational structure. In fact, in organizing, managers create organizational structure by defining the roles and positions. And once manager defines roles and positions, then the team of management tries their best to establish the viable and workable relationship among all these activities, all these jobs, all these functions, so that organization could achieve its goal smoothly and economically. Then organizing, then staffing. Staffing is the management function to fill and ensure keep filling all the time by the staff in the organizations, because human resource is imperative to execute the selected aims. The aims or the goals, those are selected by the management. Then this is the job of the managers, to fill the positions and to ensure keep filling the positions all the time. Directing comprises 4 important activities: leadership, motivation, communication, and supervision. And in nutshell, as a whole, we can say direction is influencing the people to motivate them, to lead them, that they could participate, they could give their best to achieve the group goals or the organization goals. Now, after direction, the last but not least comes controlling. Controlling is the activity to measure and rectify the errors, if any, to measure the performance, ongoing performance, then to compare the actual or ongoing performance with the standards set at the time of plan itself. And if management finds any flaw, any deviation, negative deviation particularly, then management had to control this. This is important. So I think we understood all these activities, all these functions. Unfortunately, I could not cover this topic because the limit of time. In next class, I think that will be last class to understand this basic concept of management. In next class, we will try to understand a skill of management and process of management in a little bit detail, and significance of management. Likewise, thank you for being with me. Thank you very much.